Hi, Chef Joe with Healthy Kids Inc. and today we'll be making a stuffed cabbage. So the first thing we wanted to show you how to prep your cabbage. So I've done a little bit of the work ahead, but we're going to show you kind of what you're dealing with. You take a head of cabbage, and for this application, for the rolling or the stuffing of the cabbage, you need the soft outer leaves. The inside, it tends to get more hard as you enter towards the core of the cabbage. So one thing that helps is if you look at the base of the cabbage here, normally if you can bash it on a hard surface such as a table, a cutting board, or whatever, that'll ram the core up into the cabbage, and that'll kind of help to loosen the leaves, and everything will kind of peel away much easier. Sometimes that's a little harder to do, so if you have to use a paring knife and kind of loosen up around the core, I normally cut like a square around, and that helps to begin to loosen the leaves, and you can kind of peel them away from the core outward, and then you get a nice whole leaf like that, or like this. And then everything that's down here and it's harder and it's tighter, this is perfect to shred for coleslaw or to cut up and julienne like we've done here, just cut into nice strips, and this is going to go actually in the stuffed cabbage, so we're going to stuff it with some of its own leaves chopped up. And to deal with this and make it more manageable, you can cut the core off, slice down through, add that to your compost. Gives you a flat surface to work with, and then you can just cut it in half. Like that. And then it's much easier to deal with in this form. It's easier to peel, or you can begin slicing it just like this across, or for whatever you really need it for. So that's how you begin to deal with your cabbage. But then I'll show you what I've done. I've taken some of those outer leaves, the soft ones, and kind of cleaned them up a little bit, cut out the hard inner part, the core, that if you tried to roll, you'll see that it just snaps. Nice crunch, and this is perfectly usable either if you're not going to use it for anything else in your compost, or you can cut it up nice and fine and use it without any trouble. So we've cut these up into a little bit, kind of squared them off a little bit to make them a little easier to kind of roll up and stuff like this for our application. So we'll move over to the stove and show you the rest here in just a minute. Okay, so we're ready to begin sauteing the ingredients to stuff inside of our cabbage. So we're going to start with a little bit of garlic and onion. Give these a nice pinch of salt, a couple of cracks of black pepper. Okay, once our onions start to get soft, we're going to add in our eggplant, zucchini. You'll notice everything is cut up into the same size pieces so that it cooks quickly and evenly. I'm going to give this a little bit more seasoning. So we're going to make a little bit of room. We're going to add our ground turkey and save those tomatoes for the last minute. All right, now meanwhile, we have some butter that we've melted, about a tablespoon. We have some breadcrumbs. That's going to come into play in just a little bit. Some fresh herbs that we'll be using, a splash of chicken stock. Season our turkey a little bit. Add some those outer leaves of the cabbage and the inner leaves that we cut up into a nice julienne. We also have our oven preheated to 350 degrees to bake off our cabbage rolls. Okay, our turkey's just where we need it. It's okay if it's not 100% cooked right now because it is still going to go into the oven, but it's a good 95% of the way there now. So I'm going to bring my heat down. I'm going to add in couple of cups worth of our finely sliced cabbage. Gonna add in our tomatoes. Our stock. I'm gonna give this a couple of minutes to let this cabbage kind of wilt. All right, so we'll give this just a couple of minutes and then we'll kill the heat and let it cool. And this will be our stuffing for our cabbage. In the meantime, we want to remove our butter from the heat. It's nice and melted. We're gonna combine it with our breadcrumbs. We're gonna give this a quick stir, just enough to kind of moisten those breadcrumbs. And this is what we will top our cabbage rolls with. And we're going to go ahead and add in our fresh herbs. Fresh or dried would work just fine here. We'll stir those in. All right, so you can kill the heat. We'll let this cool, and then we will begin to stuff our cabbage here in just a couple of minutes. All right, so we're ready to begin stuffing our cabbage. This is cooled enough that I can work with it. And it's okay, you could do this well in advance. If you wanted to do this the night before and let it set in the fridge, it would be just fine. Just let it kind of come up to room temperature before you stuff and put it in the oven. We're gonna put some of our mixture in. Okay. Don't worry if you lose some out the sides, that's just fine. Roll it up. And with anything, you want to place it in seam side down. And I have a baking dish over here that I've just lightly oiled. We're just going to set those in there like that and continue the process. Okay, so we're ready to pop these into the oven. I just want to top them. It's our buttered breadcrumbs. All right. Minutes at 350 degrees, so we'll come back and check on them in just a little bit. All right, so our cabbage rolls have been in. Popping those out. Got a little browning on the outside. Our breadcrumbs are nice and golden. That's what we're looking for, so we're going to let these cool. We'll plate them up in just a few minutes and show you the finished product.